However, these are the new identities that we're getting into today. So they're called the sum and difference identities for sine and cosine. You can see that I even call them a formula on the board because we're going to use them as formulas. Now, these identities, they're designed to use without a calculator, okay? I'll explain when you can use your calculator, but for the most part, as you work through this, don't rely on your calculator. You're going to have to show the analytical work, and you'll have to know these four formulas basically, and they're very similar. So a couple things I'm just going to point out. So obviously the cosine sum and difference identity here, it's cosine alpha cosine beta plus sine alpha sine beta cosine alpha cosine beta minus sine alpha sine beta. What you want to identify here is that when it's a difference, right? So this is the difference formula. That in the formula itself, the operation changes to an addition. Okay, in the sum cosine sum identity here, the operation in the formula reverses to a subtraction. Right. The order of the angles is always the same. It's alpha beta, and with cosine, it's cosine alpha cosine beta, sine alpha sine beta. The sine functions, it's a little different. But similar in many ways. So where they're different is for the sine sum, right? The operation in the formula is always a sum. It matches, right? So if it's an addition inside the sum identity, then the formula is addition, and if it's subtraction in the identity, then the formula also is a subtraction. So there's four here, but you can memorize them with these two. You can kind of condense the cosines into cosine of alpha plus or minus beta here, right? So then it's cosine alpha cosine beta, and then the way I express this is minus plus. So I just reversed the plus minus right here when I wrote it right here. That's a good way to remember that, if it's plus in the identity, then in the formula it's minus. And if it's minus in the identity, then in the formula it's plus. And then finish it with sine alpha, sine beta. Right? So that's one formula we need to know. And the other formula is for sine, right? Also very similar. Sine, I always think sine's a little bit easier, but some of you may disagree. So it's sine alpha, oops, not A, sine alpha. And then I write it again as plus minus beta. And then for sine, it's sine alpha cosine beta. And then plus minus, that stays. And then it's cosine alpha sine beta. And these are our two formulas. You're going to want to know how to use them. So don't skip out on any of the example problems. You'll see in our next video how this can be time consuming in some cases.